Another distinctive about the book, Introduction to Messianic Judaism, is the approach to reading the New Testament theologically that is unique. But what I want to point out here is that this isn't just relevant to the discussion of Messianic Judaism. It is true that, that the approach we take is illustrating how one can read the New Testament in a way that complements a ethnically distinct Jewish expression of Christian faith. But I believe that the approach we're taking is a better approach because it better addresses the evidence in the New Testament. It's a better approach because it better gives us a method to joining the Old Testament with the New Testament. So the relationship between the Testaments, I think, makes better sense this way. And the third reason why I think this approach that we're taking is better is because it gives us a more, I think, robust theological vision of the church, so that with an understanding of the New Testament as articulating a vision of the church that redeems ethnicity and doesn't erase ethnicity. This is exactly, I think, what the vision in Revelation, where we have all the nations as nations, including Israel, around the throne worshiping the Messiah. So this approach that I've been referring to, it could go by some various names, but one of the names that's kind of getting attached to it is post-supersessionist readings. That's a big word, but post-supersessionist readings. And now, supersessionist is not a word we're flipping around a lot, but it essentially carries the idea that that the church, which is largely Gentile, has somehow replaced Israel as God's covenant people. And some of the major assumptions of a post-supersessionist reading are that God's covenant with his people Israel is both past, present, and future. And at no point in the New Testament do we see God revoking that covenant. In fact, Paul is quite clear in Romans that God's covenants and promises are irrevocable. Another distinctive would be that there's something unique about Israel in redemptive history, particularly in the work of Messiah. I mean, I think it's crazy, but many times we don't appreciate that our king is a Jewish Messiah and will forever be that. And even in the eschaton, even in the new heavens and new earth, Jesus will be a Jewish man, and there's a priority of Israel now, perhaps fully realized in Israel's Messiah for redemption of creation. One other point I would make here is that when we talk about these ethnic distinctions, the thing we often don't appreciate is that ethnicity isn't just, blood. It has to do with practices. It has to do with the shape of one's life. And so when we talk about unique ethnicities being reconciled into a unified church, what we have to really get across, I think, and one of the things that this book does well, is it argues for a vision of the church that understands that God doesn't erase our ethnic distinctions. Now, it happens to be the case that on the Jewish question, this becomes very relevant because the things that say, Paul talks about in Galatians, whether it's circumcision or it's Sabbath keeping or some other kind of work of Torah, he can be interpreted, at least in one reading, to sort of say that those things don't matter. But what we don't appreciate is that if we take that in some maximalistic or universal way, then we've eliminated one of the ethnicities around the throne, because now we're asking Gentiles, or Jews, to be Gentile. And so it's sort of the reverse problem that it was in the New Testament, of course. In Galatians, it was Jews forcing Gentiles to be Jewish in order to be a part of the people of God. Today, it seems like the issue is completely the reverse. It's Gentiles forcing Jews to be Gentiles in order to be a part of the people of God. And it just seems completely out of step with the message of the New Testament. And so I think this post-supersessionist approach is better on a number of fronts. And so I'm excited that this book is really a foray into that, and probably one of the first attempts to bring together a number of scholars that are kind of working from this presupposition together in one place. And I think it's an incredibly unique part of the book, Introduction to Messianic Judaism.